Listen up. Right now, in this moment, you have a choice. You can keep seeing yourself the way you always have, or you could change it all. I'm talking about a total shift in how you view yourself, your abilities, and your future. This isn't some feel-good nonsense. This is about real, lasting change that starts in your mind and spreads to every part of your life. You want to know the truth. The way you see yourself is everything. It's the foundation of every decision you make, every risk you take, and every dream you chase. If you see yourself as small, guess what? You play small. If you see yourself as unstoppable, you'll break through every barrier in your way. I've been in this game called life for a while now, and I've seen people transform themselves from the inside out. Take my friend Marcus. He grew up thinking he wasn't smart enough for college. His teachers told him he'd be lucky to graduate high school. But one day, Marcus decided to change the way he saw himself. He started picturing himself as a scholar, as someone worthy of knowledge. And you know what? He didn't just graduate high school. He went on to get his Ph.D. All because he changed that picture in his mind. But let me tell you something. Like, changing how you see yourself isn't easy. It's not about looking in the mirror and saying a few nice words to yourself. It's about challenging every negative thought, every doubt, every fear that's been holding you back. It's about looking at your flaws and saying, yeah, I see you, but you don't define me. You got to be willing to let go of that old version of yourself, the one that's comfortable with mediocrity, the one that's afraid to speak up, the one that lets others determine your worth, that person. You got to say goodbye to them. It might feel like losing a friend at first, but trust me, you're making room for someone much greater. Now, I know some of you are sitting there thinking, that's all well and good, but you don't know my life. You don't know my struggles, and you're right, I don't. But what I do know is this: your struggles don't define you unless you let them. They're not a life sentence. They're a test of your resilience, your creativity, and your determination. Take Sarah, a single mom working 2 jobs to make ends meet. She used to see herself as a victim of circumstance, but one day she decided to see herself as a warrior, as someone who could overcome anything. That shift in perspective, it gave her the courage to start her own business. Now she's employing other single moms, creating a community of support and success. You see, when you change the way you see yourself, you change the way you interact with the world. You know, you start standing a little taller, speaking a little louder, dreaming a little bigger, and the world responds. Opportunities that you never saw before suddenly appear. People who never gave you the time of day start seeking your advice. Doors that were closed begin to crack open. But here's the kicker. You got to be ready for it. You got to do the work. Changing your self-image isn't just about positive thinking. It's about positive action. If you see yourself as a leader, you got to start leading. If you see yourself as an innovator, you got to start creating. If you see yourself as a force for good in this world, you got to start serving others. I remember when I was starting out as an actor, there were plenty of people who saw me as just another kid with big dreams. But in my mind, I was already a star. I saw myself on the big screen, moving audiences, telling important stories. So again, you know what? That vision guided every choice I made. It pushed me to work harder, to study my craft, to persevere when rejection came knocking. Now, I'm not saying it was easy. There were nights when that vision felt like a fantasy, times when I questioned everything. But that's when you gotta dig deep. That's when you gotta look in the mirror and remind yourself of who you really are, not who the world says you are. You wanna know the secret to success? It's not talent. It's not luck, it's consistency. It's waking up every single day and choosing to see yourself as the person you wanna become. It's about aligning your thoughts, your words, and your actions with that vision. Let me break it down for you. Your thoughts become your words. Your words become your actions. Your actions become your habits. Your habits become your character. And your character becomes your destiny. So if you want to change your destiny, you got to start with your thoughts. Think about the labels you've accepted about yourself. I'm not good with money. I'm always late. I'm not a people person. These aren't facts. They're stories you've been telling yourself. And guess what? You're the author. You can rewrite those stories anytime you want. I want you to try something right now. Close your eyes for a second. Now, I want you to see yourself 5 years from now. But here's the catch. I want you to see the version of yourself that you're afraid to even dream about. The one that's achieved things you think are impossible right now. Got that image? Good. That person isn't a fantasy. That person is you waiting to be unleashed. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but you, Edzzy, what if I fail? What if I try to see myself differently and nothing changes? Listen to me carefully. Failure is part of the process. It's not the enemy. It's your teacher. Every time you fall short, you learn something new about yourself. You get stronger. You get wise. Remember Michael Jordan? He was cut from his high school basketball team, but in his mind, he wasn't a reject. He saw himself as the greatest player in the world, and he used that vision to fuel his training, his dedication, his relentless pursuit of excellence. The rest, that's history. You got to be willing to fail your way to success. Each setback is setting you up for a comeback, but only if you keep that vision of yourself alive. Only if you refuse to let temporary defeats define you. Now, let's talk about fear. Fear is the #1 reason people don't change the way they see themselves. They're afraid of disappointment. They're afraid of what others might think. They're afraid of the unknown. But here's the truth. Fear just falls evident, appearing real. It's a liar. It's a thief. It wants to rob you of your potential. So how do you beat fear? You face it head on. And you stare it in the eye and say, not today, not ever. You take that first step even when your knees are shaking. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's action in the face of fear. I want you to think about the bravest thing you've ever done. Maybe it was standing up to a bully. Maybe it was asking someone out on a date. Maybe it was quitting a job to follow your passion. Whatever it was, I guarantee you were scared. But you did it anyway. That's the power of seeing yourself as brave, as capable, as worthy. Now, I'm not saying you got to make some grand gesture to change your life. Sometimes the biggest changes start small. It's about making a series of small decisions that align with your new self-image. If you see yourself as healthy, it might start with choosing an apple over a candy bar. If you see yourself as a leader, it might start with speaking up in a meeting. These small choices compound over time, shaping your reality to match your vision. Let me tell you about my friend, David. He used to see himself as a victim of his circumstances, grew up poor, didn't have many opportunities, but one day, he decided to see himself as the captain of his own ship. He started making different choices, started saving a little money each week, started reading books on business, started networking. Fast forward 5 years, and David's running his own successful company, all because he changed the way he saw himself. Now, I know some of you are thinking, that's great for David, but my situation is different. And you're right, your journey is unique, but the principle is universal. When you change the way you see yourself, you change the choices you make. And when you change your choices, you change your life. But here's something crucial. Changing how you see yourself isn't a one-time event. It's a daily practice. It's about catching those negative thoughts when they creep in and replacing them with empowering one. It's about surrounding yourself with people who reflect the person you want to become. It's about creating an environment that nurtures your new self-image. Think about it like this. If you were training to run a marathon, you wouldn't just visualize yourself crossing the finish line. You'd lace up your shoes every day and hit the pavement. You'd watch what you eat. You get enough rest. Changing your self-image works the same way. You got to put in the work every single day. Now, let's talk about something that trips up a lot of people. Comparison. In this age of social media, it's easy to fall into the trap of comparing yourself to others. But let me tell you something. That's a game you can't win, because you're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. The only person you should be comparing yourself out there is the person you were yesterday. Are you growing? Are you learning? Are you pushing yourself out of your comfort zone? That's what matters, not what someone else is doing. I want you to make a promise to yourself right now. Promise that you'll stop diminishing yourself to make others comfortable. Promise that you'll stop playing small to fit in. Because when you do that, you're not just cheating yourself. You're cheating the world out of your unique gifts. You got to understand, there's no one else in this world quite like you. Your experiences, your perspective, your talents, they're unique. And the world needs what only you can offer. But it starts with seeing yourself as valuable, as essential, as worthy of taking up space. Now, I'm not talking about arrogance here. I'm talking about quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need to boast or put others down. The kind that comes from knowing who you are and what you're capable of. Let me share a little secret with you. Success leaves clues. When you look at anyone who's achieved greatness in any field, you'll find one common thread. They believed in themselves when no one else did. They saw greatness in themselves before the world recognized it. Take Oprah Winfrey. She was told she was unfit for television news. But in her mind, she saw herself as a media mogul. She held on to that vision through rejections, through setbacks, through criticism. And look at her now, one of the most influential people in the world. Or think about Steve Jobs. He saw himself as someone who could change the world through technology. People thought he was crazy, but he held on to that vision, and that vision gave him the strength to keep pushing, keep innovating, even when Apple was on the brink of bankruptcy. These aren't just success stories. They're testaments to the power of self-perception. They're proof that when you change the way you see yourself, you change what's possible for you. Now, I want to address something important. Changing how you see yourself doesn't mean denying your past or your struggles. It's not about pretending everything's perfect. It's about acknowledging where you've been, but not letting it dictate where you're going. Your past is part of your story, but it's not your whole story. It's a chapter, not the conclusion. You got the power to write the next chapter and the one after that. And guess what? You're the author. You can decide how this story unfolds. I want you to think about the stories you tell yourself. The ones that play on repeat in your head. Are they empowering you or limiting you? Are they pushing you forward or holding you back? Because here's the truth, those stories become your reality. So choose them wisely. If you've been telling yourself you're not smart enough, talented enough, or worthy enough, it's time to change the narrative. It's time to start seeing yourself as capable, as deserving, as enough, because you are. You always have been. Now, I know this isn't easy. I know there are voices in your head, maybe voices from your past, telling you to stay small, to play it safe. But I want you to listen to me very carefully. Those voices don't get a vote. The only voice that matters is the one that says, yes, I can. You got to be your own biggest cheerleader. You got to be the one who believes in yourself when no one else does. Because if you don't believe in yourself, why should anyone else? I want you to start practicing self-compassion. When you make a mistake, when you fall short, don't beat y'all up. Treat yourself with the same kindness you'd show a friend. Because that's how you build resilience. That's how you find the strength to keep going, to keep growing, to keep pushing towards your dreams. Now, let's talk about something that's crucial in this process. Your environment, the people you surround yourself with, the information you consume, the places you spend your time. All of these shape your self-perception. So choose wisely. Surround yourself with people who see greatness in you, even when you can't see it in yourself. Spend time in places that inspire you, that push you to grow. Fill your mind with information that expands your horizons, that challenges your limitations. Remember, you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So ask yourself, are the people around you lifting you up or holding you back? Are they feeding your dreams or fueling your doubts? If they're not supporting your growth, it might be time to make some changes. Now, I'm not saying you should cut people out of your life, but you might need to limit your exposure to negativity. You might need to seek out new connections, new communities that align with your vision for yourself. Think about it like this. If you were trying to get in shape, you wouldn't hang out at fast food joints all day, would you? You'd go to the gym. You'd shop at health food stores. You'd connect with other fitness enthusiasts. The same principle applies to changing your self-image. You've got to create an environment that supports your growth. Let's talk about something that's often overlooked in this process. See, gratitude. When you're focused on changing yourself, it's easy to get caught up in what's wrong, what needs fixing. But taking time to appreciate what's right, what's good in your life can shift your entire perspective. Start each day by acknowledging 3 things you're grateful for. It don't have to be big things. Maybe it's the warmth of the sun on your face. Maybe it's a kind word from a stranger. Maybe it's the ability to take a deep breath. This practice trains your mind to look for the positive. And when you're focused on the positive, you start seeing more possibilities for yourself. Now, I want to address something that might be holding some of you back. The fear of success. Yeah, you heard me right. Sometimes we're more afraid of success than we are of failure. Because success means change. It means stepping into the unknown. It means leaving behind the familiar, even if the familiar isn't serving us. But here's the thing. That fear is a sign. It's a sign that you're on the right track. It's a sign that you are pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. And that's where growth happens. That's where transformation occurs. So instead of running from that fear, I want you to embrace it. Man's a challenge. See it as an opportunity to prove to yourself what you're capable of. Because on the other side of that fear, that's where your dreams are waiting. Now, let's talk about action. Because all the positive thinking in the world won't change anything if you don't back it up with action. You've got to be willing to put in the work. You've got to be willing to fail, to learn, to adjust, and to keep moving forward. Start small if you need to, but start. Take one action a day that aligns with your new self-image. Maybe it's applying for that job you think you're not qualified for. Maybe it's signing up for that class you've always wanted to take. Maybe it's having that difficult conversation you've been avoiding. Whatever it is, do it. Because action builds confidence, and confidence reinforces your new self-image. It's a positive cycle that gains momentum over time. Remember, you don't have to see the whole staircase to take the first step. You just need the courage to begin. Trust that as you take each step, the next one will reveal itself. Now, I want to talk about something that's crucial in this journey: patience, okay? Changing the way you see yourself doesn't happen overnight. It's not a quick fix or a magic pill. It's a process, and sometimes that process can feel slow. There will be days when you feel like you're making progress, and days when you feel like you're sliding backwards. That's normal. That's part of the journey. The key is to keep going, to trust the process, to have faith in yourself. Think about it like this. If you decide to get in shape, you wouldn't expect to see results after one workout, would you? No, you'd understand that it takes time, consistency, and dedication. The same goes for changing your self-image. It's a daily practice, a commitment you make to yourself every single day. But here's the beautiful thing. Every small win, every moment of growth, it all adds up. It's like compound interest for your soul. Each positive thought, each brave action, each moment of self-belief, they're all investments in your future self. Now, let's talk about something that trips up a lot of people: perfectionism. Some of you might be thinking, I'll change how I see myself when I achieve this goal, or I'll feel worthy when I reach this milestone. But that's backward thinking. You got to start seeing yourself as worthy, as capable, as deserving right now. Because if you wait for perfect conditions, you'll be waiting forever. Perfection is a myth. It's a moving target that keeps you stuck. Instead, focus on progress. Celebrate your growth, no matter how small. Did you speak up in a meeting when you usually stay quiet? That's progress. Did you try something new even though you were scared? That's progress. Did you choose self-compassion instead of self-criticism? That's progress. Remember, the goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to be better than you were yesterday. And the only way to do that is to start seeing yourself as someone who's capable of growth, of change, of transformation. Let me tell you about my friend Lisa. Okay? She used to see herself as someone who always played it safe, never took risks, never stepped out of her comfort zone. But one day, she decided to change that story. She started seeing herself as brave, as adventurous. And you know what? It changed everything. She started saying yes to opportunities she had once turned down. She started trying new things, meeting new people. And with each small act of courage, her confidence grew. Now, she's running her own business, traveling the world, living a life she once only dreamed of. That's the power of changing how you see yourself. It's not just about feeling better. It's about creating a whole new reality for yourself. Now, I want to address something that holds a lot of people back. Now, the opinions of others. Some of you might be afraid to change how you see yourself because you're worried about what others will think. Maybe you're afraid they'll call you arrogant or say you've changed. But let me tell you something. What other people think of you is none of your business. Their opinions don't define you. Their limitations aren't your limitations. You've got to be willing to disappoint some people to become the person you're meant to be. Think about it like this. Every great leader, every innovator, every person who's ever made a difference in this world, they all had critics. They all had people who doubted them, who told them to stay in their lane. But they believed in themselves anyway. They held on to their vision even when no one else could see it. You got to be willing to stand alone sometime, to be misunderstood, to be criticized, because the alternative is staying small. The alternative is living someone else's version of your life, and life's too short for that. Now, let's talk about something that's often overlooked in this process: forgiveness. Some of you might be holding on to past mistakes, past failures, past hurts. And those memories, they're shaping how you see yourself. They're keeping you stuck in an old version of yourself. It's time to let that go. It's time to forgive yourself for not knowing what you know now, for the choices you made when you didn't know better, for the times you let fear hold you back, because holding on to that stuff. It's like trying to swim with anchors tied to your feet. You got to cut those ropes if you want to move forward. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about freeing yourself. It's about making peace with your past so you can create a new future, a future where you see yourself as worthy of love, of success, of happiness. Remember, you're not your mistakes. You're not your failures. You're not your past. You're the person who survived all that. You're the person who learned from it. You're the person who's still standing, still fighting, still growing. Now, I want to talk about something that's crucial in this journey, self-talk. The way you talk to yourself shapes how you see yourself. So I want you to start paying attention to that inner dialogue. Is it kind? Is it supportive? Or is it critical? Is it limiting? If you want to say it to a friend, don't say it to yourself. Start treating yourself with the same kindness, the same respect, the same encouragement you'd offer to someone you love, because you deserve that. You deserve your own compassion, your own support. Try to say it. Every morning when you look in the mirror, I want you to say one kind thing to yourself. It might feel awkward at first. You might not believe it, but do it anyway, because over time, those words sink in. They become part of how you see yourself. Now, let's talk about dreams. The big dreams, the kind that scare you a little, the kind that make your heart race. Some of you might have given up on those dreams. Maybe you think you're too old, too busy, too whatever. But let me tell you something. It's never too late to be what you might have been. Your dreams, they're not just random thought. They're not just wishful thinking. They're glimpses of your potential. They're calls to action. And the fact that you can dream it means you have it in you to achieve it. But here's the thing. You got to see yourself as someone worthy of those dreams. You got to see yourself as someone capable of achieving them. Because if you can't see it in your mind, you'll never hold it in your hand. Spam, I want you to take a moment right now. Close your eyes if you need to. And I want you to see yourself living that dream. See it in vivid detail. How do you feel? What are you doing? Who's around you? Let yourself really experience it. Now, open your eyes to that feeling, that vision. That's not just a fantasy. That's a preview of what's possible for you, but you've got to believe it. You've got to see yourself as that person. Not someday, not when everything's perfect, but right now. Let's talk about something that trips up a lot of me. Comparison. In this age of social media, it's easy to fall into the trap of comparing your life to others. But let me tell you something. That's a game you can't win, because you're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. That the only person you should be comparing yourself to is the person you were yesterday. Are you growing? Are you learning? Are you pushing yourself? That's what matters, not what someone else is doing. Remember, your journey is unique. Your path is your own. So stop looking left and right. Keep your eyes on your own paper. Focus on becoming the best version of yourself, not a second-rate version of someone else. Now, I want to address something that holds a lot of people back, the fear of judgment. If some of you might be afraid to change how you see yourself because you're worried about what others will think. Maybe you're afraid they'll call you arrogant or say you've changed. But let me tell you something. What other people think of you is none of your business. Their opinions don't define you. Their limitations aren't your limitations. You got to be willing to disappoint some people to become the person you're meant to be. Think about it like this. Every great leader, every innovator, every person who's ever made a difference in this world, they all had critics. They all had people who doubted them, who told them to stay in their lane. But they believed in themselves anyway. They held on to their vision, even when no one else could. You got to be willing to stand alone sometimes. To be misunderstood, to be criticized, because the alternative staying small. The alternative is living someone else's version of your life, and life's too short for that. Let's talk about resilience, eh? Because changing how you see yourself isn't always going to be easy. There will be setbacks. There will be days when old doubts creep in. When that happens, I want you to remember this. You're not starting over. You're starting from experience. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. Every failure is a lesson. Every doubt is an opportunity to prove yourself wrong. The key is to keep going, to keep believing in yourself even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Think about a time when you overcame something difficult. Maybe it was a personal challenge, a professional setback, a health issue. Remember how you felt in the middle of it? Probably pretty low, right? But you got through it. You survived. You're still here. That strength, that resilience, it's still in you. It's part of who you are. So things get tough. When doubts creep in, I want you to remember that. I want you to see yourself as someone who can handle whatever life throws at you, because you can. You've done it before. You'll do it again. Now, let's talk about something that's crucial in this journey: authenticity. Changing how you see yourself doesn't mean becoming someone else. It means becoming more of who you truly are. It means peeling away the layers of doubt, of fear, of other people's expectations to reveal your true self. Some of you might be afraid to show your true self. Maybe you think you're too much, too loud, too quiet, too sensitive, too whatever. But let me tell you something. The world needs your too much. The world needs your uniqueness, your quirks, your passions. Stop trying to fit in. You were born to stand out. You were born to make a difference in a way that only you can. But you can't do that if you're hiding who you really are. You can't do that if you're trying to be someone you're not. I want you to start seeing yourself as worthy of being seen, of being heard, of taking up space, because you are. You always have been. The world is waiting for you to show up as your full, authentic self. Don't keep it waiting. Let's talk about purpose. Some of you might be thinking, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what I'm meant to do. And that uncertainty, it's shaping how you see yourself. It's making you feel lost, adrift. But here's the truth. Your purpose isn't something you find. It's something you create. It's not a destination. It's a journey. And it starts with seeing yourself as someone who has something valuable to offer the world. Because you do. You have experiences, skills, perspectives that are uniquely yours. You have the power to make a difference, to touch lives, to create change. But first, you got to see that in yourself. Start by asking yourself, what lights you up? What makes you lose track of time? What problems do you want to solve? What kind of impact do you want to have? The answers to these questions, they're clues to your purpose. And remember, your purpose doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. It can be as simple as bringing joy to others, or creating beauty, or solving everyday problems. The key is to see yourself as someone who has the power to make a positive impact, no matter how small. Now, let's talk about something that's often overlooked in this process: self-care. Now, some of you might think self-care is selfish, that taking time for yourself means you're neglecting others. But let me tell you something. You can't pour from an empty cup. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. It's how you recharge. It's how you stay strong. It's how you become the best version of yourself. And when you're at your best, that's when you have the most to give to others. So I want you to start seeing yourself as someone worthy of care, of rest, of rejuvenation. See yourself as someone who deserves to take breaks, to say no sometimes, to put your own oxygen mask on first. This might mean setting boundaries. It might mean asking for help. It might mean taking time each day to do something that fills you up. Whatever it is, do it without guilt. Do it knowing that when you take care of yourself, you're better able to take care of others. Let's talk about growth. Some of you might see yourself as fixed, as incapable of change. Maybe you think you're too old to learn new things, or that your personality is set in stone. But that's not true. The human brain is capable of change throughout our entire life. You got to start seeing yourself as a lifelong learner, as someone who's always growing, always evolving. Because when you see yourself that way, you open yourself up to endless possibilities. Every day is a chance to learn something new, to develop a new skill, to gain a new perspective. But you got to be open to it. You got to be willing to step out of your comfort zone, to embrace challenges, to see mistakes as learning opportunities. Remember, the person you are today is not the person you have to be tomorrow. But you have the power to grow, to change, to become. But it starts with seeing yourself as capable of growth. Now, let's talk about legacy. Some of you might think legacy is something only important people leave behind. But that's not true. Every single one of you is creating a legacy every day, with every action, every word, every choice. Your legacy isn't just what you leave behind when you're gone. It's their impact you have on others while you're here. It's the lives you touch, the changes you make, the love you share. So I want you to start seeing yourself as someone who's creating a meaningful legacy, someone who's making a difference no matter how small. Because when you see yourself that way, it changes how you move through the world. It changes the choices you make, the actions you take. Ask yourself, what do you want to be remembered for? How do you want to impact the lives of others? What kind of world do you want to help create? Let those answers guide you. Let them shape how you see yourself and how you live your life. Let's talk about courage. Changing how you see yourself takes courage. It takes guts to let go of old beliefs, to challenge your limitations, to step into a new version of yourself. Some of you might not see yourself as brave. You might think courage is reserved for heroes, for people who do grand, traumatic things. But true courage, it's in the small things, in getting up every day and choosing to believe in yourself, even when it's hard. It's in speaking your truth, even when your voice shakes. It's in trying again after you fail. I want you to start seeing yourself as courageous, because you are. The fact that you're here listening to these words, wanting to change, to grow, that's courage. The fact that you've made it through every tough day, every challenge, every setback in your life, that's courage. You're braver than you think, stronger than you know, more capable than you can imagine. It's time to start seeing that in yourself. Now, let's talk about something that's crucial in this journey and patience. Changing how you see yourself doesn't happen overnight. It's not a quick fix or a magic pill. It's a process, and sometimes that process can feel slow. There will be days when you feel like you're making progress, and days when you feel like you're sliding backwards. That's normal. That's part of the journey. The key is to keep going, to trust the process, to have faith in yourself. Think about it like this. If you decided to get in shape, you wouldn't expect to see results after one workout, would you? No. You'd understand that it takes time, consistency, and dedication. The same goes for changing your self-image. But here's the beautiful thing. Every small win, every moment of growth, it all adds up. It's like compound interest for your soul. Each positive thought, each brave action, each moment of self-belief, they're all investments in your future self. So be patient with yourself, be kind to yourself. Trust that the changes are happening, even if you can't always see them. Because one day, you'll look back and be amazed at how far you've come. Let's talk about gratitude. When you're focused on changing yourself, it's easy to get caught up in what's wrong, what needs fixing. But taking time to appreciate what's right, what's good in your life can shift your entire perspective. Start each day by acknowledging what's 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be big things. Maybe it's the warmth of the sun on your face. Maybe it's a kind word from a stranger. Maybe it's the ability to take a deep breath. This practice trains your mind to look for the positive. And when you're focused on the positive, you start seeing more possibilities for yourself. You start seeing yourself as someone who has good things in their life, someone who's worthy of good things. Gratitude isn't about ignoring the challenges in your life. It's about choosing where to put your focus. It's about seeing the good alongside the bad. And when you do that, it changes how you see yourself and your place in the world. Now, I want to talk about something that's often overlooked. Cool. Celebrating your wins, no matter how small. Some of you might be in the habit of brushing off your accomplishments, of always focusing on what's next instead of appreciating how far you've come. But here's the thing. Those small wins, they're the building blocks of big change. They're proof that you're growing, that you're making progress. So celebrate them. Own them. Let them fuel your confidence and shape how you see yourself. Did you speak up in a meeting when you usually stay quiet? Celebrate that. Did you try something new even though you were scared? Celebrate that. Did you choose self-compassion instead of self-criticism? Celebrate that. When you acknowledge your progress, no matter how small, you're reinforcing your new self-image. You're telling yourself, I am someone who's growing. I am someone who's changing. I am someone who's capable of more. Now, as we're wrapping up here, I want to leave you with this thought. Right? Changing how you see yourself isn't just about you. It's about the ripple effect you create in the world. When you see yourself as capable, as worthy, as powerful, you show up differently in every area of your life. You become a better friend, a better partner, a better leader. You inspire others to see themselves differently too. Think about it. And when you see the best in yourself, you're more likely to see the best in others. When you believe in your own potential, you're more likely to believe in the potential of those around you. When you treat yourself with kindness and respect, you're more likely to treat others the same way. Your self-image is not just a personal matter, it's a powerful force that can change the world around you.